And welcome back on Metal Nation Radio, and joining us today, Maddox from Messer. How is everything in your world, my friend?
Man, it's going great, man. How you guys doing?
We are doing wonderful, digging the new track that dropped yesterday, the 19th, Make This Life. And I want to talk about that in just a minute. But first off, for those who have yet to hear from you guys, because you guys hail from Dallas, Texas, a lot of big names to live up to down there, give us a little backstory on Messer.
You know, we all got together about 6-7 years ago and, hatched this idea for Messer. This has really been like a ground-up kind of creation that's been close to 6 years in the making to be able to be to where we're releasing Make This Life a single. And we've got a great producer, Chad Gendison, and all of us, the six of us together, have just been, like I said, toiling away for some time on this record, and we're keeping it really secretive and underground, and so we're super excited to be bringing it to everybody.
Obviously, I've only heard the first single so far, but to me, the Messer sound sort of evokes a lot of that heavy-edged hard rock and metal that comes from a lot of those Dallas bands that we've come to love, but you also incorporate a lot of modern melodies and harmonies and everything into that. Tell us a little bit about the Messer sound from your perspective.
Well, from our perspective, we really wanted to keep a classic rock sound. We were trying to create an album and new songs that would become new classic songs in the vein of stuff of like Alice in Chains in the 90s and, going to Pantera and all those great active rock bands from the 90s and 2000s. But we wanted to make it extremely modern and add a really modern element to it, and that's where the electronic stuff comes in. That's where the R&B melodies, to kind of give you something that sounds familiar but is also extremely, new and refreshing and hopefully addictive.
Where does the band sort of draw its collective influences from?
From a wide variety. We all have these really, really eclectic musical backgrounds from, 80s to 90s rock to metal. Of course, growing up here in Dallas around bands like Pantera and Drowning Pool, you can't help but be influenced by those guys musically and personally. So, a lot of that, we drew from stuff, bands like Toto. You wouldn't believe it, but there's songs on this album, they're like, I can point out we were inspired by Toto's Africa on that song, or solos and things that, would remind you of something like a Pantera style riff. Those are really some of our biggest musical influence. I just say like Alice in Chains, Pantera, Drowning Pool, those guys definitely influenced us.
Now, you guys just launched your first single from the upcoming debut album. This is Make This Life, which we're going to listen to in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about the song.
Well, the song is really, when we were writing that song, it was during the presidential election. A lot of that stuff was kind of going on, and we were all kind of sick of it all. And there is in the pre-chorus, the underlining vocal is that I'm sick of it, I'm sick of it, I'm sick of it all. And we weren't really sick of the left side or the right side. We were sick of the media and what was being force-fed to us. That was all this misinformation. So the song really is about, we're tired of listening to the one-sided conversation coming from the TV screen and all the social media. And it really is up to us individually as a person, up to you, up to everybody, to make your life worth fighting for, make your life worth dying for. And that's really the positive message of that song.
There is great artwork for that single, sort of a dystopian look going on. What's the story behind that?
Well, okay, so there is a good story to that, and it'll be more, I guess, clear when the album artwork starts really getting circulated around. But we consider ourselves a band that's not, we're greater than the sum. The sum is greater than the individual parts, you know what I mean? Messer is not one person, it's not me, it's not, it's all of us. And the album cover was kind of representative. We're all in this world together. And then as the artwork comes in for the singles, because we wanted to have a cohesive album, those kind of zoom down to, that kind of post-apocalyptic kind of time. But there are certain elements in there like that are hearkening back to a time of innocence and when things were a lot different. We're living in a really strange time right now. So
absolutely,
we wanted to kind of convey how delicate life is, and how innocent it really is.
Is Make This Life sort of indicative of what the rest of the debut album will sound like, or is there a good bit of diversity on it?
Sonically, the album is extremely diverse but cohesive. We wanted to take the listener on a journey And this album is designed to be, played start to finish in sequence even. I mean, we took a lot of time and a big committee in just trying to decide the sequence of this album. In a time when people really don't put emphasis on albums, we wanted to put that back in. And we hope that this is an album that you listen to from start to finish and you enjoy the journey that is a page right out of our lives that is being represented by that. And so we have ballads on there. We have two really strong power ballads. One of them we recorded with a 60-piece orchestral ensemble. So we have acoustic bonus tracks on there where we redo versions of other songs, but that are heavy and metal, but then we do a really acoustic version. So there's all kinds of surprises. There's something for everybody. And you can get a sneak peek at some of that by catching us on tour, because we're playing the album almost in its entirety on our headlining tour.
And talking about the debut album, and again, I said I believe it comes out in April. If I'm off, let me know. But
yeah, April 4/20.
Nice. Oh, perfect, right?
Well, we're doing something special with our packaging and the release, because Record Store Day is on the Saturday, 4/21, and we're actually releasing the physical CD and vinyl and a special collector's vinyl edition all at the same time.
You alluded to this before. You guys sort of met Chad Gendison, assuming I didn't just butcher his name, out of L.A.
Nope, you nailed it.
And you guys started working with him on some of the songwriting and then with the recording and everything of the album. Tell us what that experience was like, not just getting together and working and writing with him, but just making that first album. There had to be a whole lot of stuff going on for you guys emotionally and professionally.
Yeah, it was a journey. I mean, for young bands out there who have never been through the process of being produced by a producer, and, you think you're one level of a musician, and then you get in the studio and you get with a producer and he pushes you because he sees something inside of you that you don't. And, he puts you in those uncomfortable, vulnerable moments, but what he gets out of you is something you didn't think you had the ability to do within yourself. And so it was a process of literally breaking us individually down as musicians and then building us all back up. And that came at different levels. We were adamant about maintaining this band as a band because, like I said, when the chemistry that we have on stage as performers, the chemistry that we have, together, that is part of what makes Messer what it is. And, the ability to convey that energy and those types of passions, and we're all extremely passionate about music, is really what Chad was able to kind of basically carve out of us and mold us and shape us to where now when we stand on a stage, I'm standing on a stage with four other of the greatest musicians that I personally know now, and it was a process, a building process to get to that point, because the album was going to be great. We wanted to make the album sound amazing, but we wanted the live show and the live performance to be of a whole other level. And that's what we feel like we've accomplished.
And you want that to translate, absolutely. So last question before we get out of here. I noticed on your site and everything, it lists that you guys all sort of do backing vocals, or I don't know if that is accurate or not, but if it is, that's a whole lot of harmony and vocal ability there that you don't see from a lot of bands. Is that something you guys truly embrace?
That's something that we all worked hard on, and I think, for, again, a lot of young musicians, you think that, you don't need to take a guitar lesson or go to a vocal coach because I'm doing just great. But, professional athletes all have professional coaches, and as do musicians who are doing this for a living. You're only going to get better. You know what I mean? You're never going to get worse. And so we did. Not all of us were singers, or even great backup vocals, but through hard work, through taking lots of lessons, and humility, lots and lots of humility, we have built something that, yes, now today it's a whole different machine.
Excellent. Messer, the first single, Make This Life, out now. And before we get out of here, I want to tell everybody you can definitely go over to Facebook and catch them at Facebook/Messer Band and their own website, messerband.com. Before we get out of here, we mentioned Pantera a few times. You're from the Deep Ellum area there. Is there a Pantera song you could ever see you guys covering?
Oh, man. Yeah, there's so many. One of my favorites has always been Cowboys from Hell. I'm an old school Pantera fan. I enjoyed the new later stuff, but, Cowboys from Hell was still my favorite. Well, that and Far Beyond Driven. That's a tough call, but probably Cowboys from Hell.
Nice. Maddox, again, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to talk with us. We're going to play a little Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, on the way out the door, and catch Messer on tour. Go check out the new single. You can find it on our metalnation.com webpage. We've got them, a little story about them there, and there's a link for everything. Go check it out. And Maddox, again, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.